Hey everybody, and welcome to the first episode of 28th and Noden, CineWrap. Today we're going to be talking about the Avengers. I am Ian.
And I'm Daniel.
And here we go. The Avengers is a movie written and directed by Joss Whedon, starring the likes of Robert Downey Jr. from Iron Man, Chris Hemsworth from Thor, and Chris Evans from Captain America, among other films. The Avengers is a blockbuster juggernaut, making over $1 billion when you combine both the domestic totals and the worldwide totals. It's made about $500 million here in the United States and over $700 million overseas. The Avengers is the summer blockbuster of the year, possibly of the past 10 years, with amazing visual effects, amazing writing, and amazing directing. Joss Whedon really does a flawless job with this film, and he really puts a lot of effort and craft into working with ensemble casts, as we've seen in a lot of other his projects, but never a movie of this grand scale.
Like Ian says, the visual effects are phenomenal. I thought the pacing, the first 30 minutes or so, the introduction of the characters really brought me into the story. If you have to pick one movie to see at the current time, I think this is the film you need to see.
Totally agree.
Yeah.
And it's still making, this past weekend, the Avengers made roughly 50 mil?
I think that was right.
$50 million. So it's still making a lot of money. Men in Black finally booted it off the #1 list, but it's still making $50 million in a weekend. And so it just shows that this movie is just a movie that you have to see. If you haven't seen it already, if you haven't seen it already and you're watching this, where have you been? Have you been living under a rock? I don't know. I mean,
I think they have.
Does one live under a rock these days?
I think so.
Is that a passé term? I don't even know. Joss Whedon has always been known for doing really well with ensemble casts, and he does not miss the mark here. Even with a movie of this scale, which he's never really worked with before, I think the only movie that he's really had, even a chance of having on this scale was Serenity, which was an amazing film to begin with. But this one, just working with very high-profile actors and working with a very, very $220 million budget.
Right,
I mean, This is such a wide scale, and he did such a great job with it. And again, I say the visual effects were stunning, and I'm very critical of visual effects. I'm one of the few people who hated Avatar because the story sucked and the visual effects were not that impressive to me.
Well, it was all visual effects. So.
Exactly, and a movie based on all visual effects just doesn't work. This one has a plot, this one has visual effects, and it all just culminates into this amazing blend. And it's really worth seeing in the movie. What do you think about it?
I mean, I liked how everything leading up to it, all the other films just brought so much of that energy from the other films, and just every bit of energy brought itself into the Avengers, and it really turned out to be a really amazing film.
And as you said, I mean, this film really brings about a new method, or I guess a rehashed method of what the studios can do with movies. I mean, this shows that when you take the time to develop these characters over years of film into this grand scale movie that was the Avengers, it pays off. I mean, obviously it's made over $1 billion total, and it was well worth the investment of all those other movies that they put in. So it would be interesting to see if any other studios try to adapt these kinds of stories where you have different characters, but at the same time they can all work together in the same universe. So I think the Avengers really does, bring that to the forefront. It's a different way of making movies in the studio system, I think.
I think it might be hard for other studios to even come close to the caliber of film that this turned out to be, though.
Oh, totally. And not because it not only just made money, but I mean the critics are loving it, and it's just an all-around good movie. It's bridging the gap between people because you have Joss Whedon fans, you have Marvel fans, and you have action fans all in the same, and they're all going to see it, and that's why it broke records opening week. If I had any issue with the film, and this is kind of this is going to be a pet peeve of mine throughout the entire series that we do online, and it's that the fact that they released it in this redone 3D, that's the only issue I have with the film. I didn't see it in 3D, but the fact that they made the film in 3D is the only issue I can really have with the film.
Well, I'm totally against 3D.
Well, I'm glad we're
forever.
in agreement.
I'm not a 3D fan, but if they are going to do it in 3D, I prefer that it's shot in 3D.
Yeah.
Like it's shot with multiple cameras, rigged to the same system. Like I'm not a fan of, the post-production 3D. Yeah. I think it's just
And if there's anything that degrades the film in any way, it would be the fact that they actually made that
I actually didn't know that they had done that.
Yes.
I saw it non-3D.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't even looking for a 3D
Because
option.
that's the reason why I think it made a lot of its money, because it not only released it in regular, but it also released it in 3D, IMAX 3D, and all the different formats that you can release it in, which is how a lot of these movies are making so much money nowadays, because they're released in these multiple formats. So, and again, I say that, you know, that's the only reason why I had any issue with the film, and it's not even about the film itself. It's about the, you know, the production, and it's about how the people in charge released the film.
Right.
And so yeah, that was the only thing that I really had issues with.
Yeah.
All right. So how would you rate the film?
So I'm giving it 5 out of 5. I think it's a solid film. I think you should see it full price, and I'm really eager to see what special features come out on the DVD. So I will be purchasing the DVD myself when it comes out, or Blu-ray for that matter.
Oh, okay. Oh, we're gonna go high end there.
Yeah.
Okay. So you'd really love this.
What
film.
about you? How do you rate it?
Well, for me, you know, Odin's score is going to be 93 out of 100.
93.
Which for me is, you know, it just the fact that there's good writing, good acting, you know, great direction, and amazing visual effects. The best visual effects I've yet to see in a film. It just makes this movie, I think, if this movie is not nominated for something other than visual effects, which I know it will be nominated and it should win, even though I haven't seen everything else that's going to be coming out this year, I think it has to be nominated for at least a few other awards,
right,
just because this movie is such a grand scope, not only with the sound mixing and the editing, but also just the quality of the film. So I'm really hoping that a movie like this could possibly finally, you know, be the comic book film that breaks in, you know, and a lot of people will argue that, you know, Dark Knight would have been that film to break in, and that film didn't even do it, but I think, you know, this might, you know, it's got the grand scope with all the money it's made, and, you know, so we'll see what happens. But yeah, 93 out of 100 for me. All right. And it's a movie I think that, you know, if you haven't seen it yet, please go see. And if when it comes out on DVD, buy it. I think it's totally worth the buy. So everybody, this was our take on the Avengers. If you liked what you saw here today, please like or subscribe our channel. If you want any information about us or about anything that you saw in today's episode, please check the comments below.